All right, welcome everybody to this week's COVID coaches meeting. Again, just like every other time, I do really appreciate you taking the time to talk and go over some of the updates that we have going on here. Just a reminder, again, if you haven't already, if you want to mute your microphone so that we don't have any background noise, then we can call on people when we have time for questions, and that we will try to go through the questions as they relate to the topic that we're talking about and kind of go from there. So appreciate everybody coming on, and I appreciate everybody's input, and we'll try to get through questions and comments as they come along, and then just try to be respectful of the group's time tonight. So we'll start it off the way we normally start it off and take a look at our numbers for them on the map here. So the good news is we are continuing a downward trajectory for our burden numbers across the state. Also, the good news, as it pertains to our upcoming event in Winter Games, we've been watching Marathon County has dipped below the line of 350, so that we're able to offer in-person Winter Games at this point, as well as looks like a good chunk of the counties have also gone below that point. So traveling to Winter Games is now a possibility for anybody who had registered, which is definitely positive news on our end. A reminder that as we're looking through this, right now these counties are, even though they are not in like the dark, they are still considered in that high category, and the high would allow us to allow agencies into phase 2 after 2 weeks of participation if they petition for outdoor practices. There is another level to get to for indoor to get into having a phase 2 to be able to do to grow your size, just because indoor is a little bit more higher risk than outdoor. So while the map does look good, remember it's still high, and we're obviously hoping we trend down towards medium and low as we continue to go here, and that's been the trend for across the state. But right now for outdoor, which we've been getting for Winter Games, petitions to move into phase 2 is okay, but for indoor you would still remain at phase 1 at this point until those counties get into that medium category. But overall, it looks really good. You can go back last week and see, it's progressively getting better. 2 weeks ago, we had a county still in the critically high. So we're definitely trending in the right direction if you start to keep going back and where our state was about a month ago compared to now. So some optimism there. Again, still a little bit of ways to go, and not a time to become less cautious because of this. It's just it just does allow us to move forward with some outdoor events, as well as trending in the right direction for some indoor events. So the question that we got asked a lot last meeting, and I wanted to touch base with everybody, was that SOI has come out and officially released their statement on the vaccine and policies going forward. So what SOI, they sent it out, I believe, towards the end of last week, but they are not requiring the vaccine in order to participate at this point. They are going to continue to work with their health organizations and follow up on that to find a point if there's ever going to be a change on that. They do recommend the vaccine, and they're going to work on education for those who would be looking for education on the vaccine, as well as the recommendation that if you have any questions or concerns, to consult your own healthcare professionals on any questions with the vaccine. And with SOI not requiring the vaccine at this point, so Special Olympics Wisconsin is also not requiring the vaccine at this point. Just kind of the way we kind of anticipated with following SOI's plan for that. I did want to provide a little bit of update, since there's been a lot of moving parts with the Wisconsin vaccination plan. And Don, I will pull up the document. Don was going to share a little bit more, as he has a little bit more firsthand knowledge on what's going on with that. But I was going to pull up the document that was sent out last week from the Department of Health that includes the new groups for phase 1B.
Right. So they kind of retroactively had said that. So this pertains mostly to individuals that are in Iris and family care and their families. So when they were looking at frontline healthcare workers, they actually added both paid and volunteer caregivers. And actually, they mentioned that a couple weeks ago. It kind of came through the guidance. DHS has a kind of a working group that they get together and they talk about what should be in the different groups. And so then with the 1B recommendations, then the majority, again, I'll say our athletes that are on long-term care plan, either like family care is a big one, Irish is a big one. A lot of you should have even gotten an email today if you're guardian for those athletes. And so I received something saying that it actually came to my son, Tyler, and said, as a participant in the Irish program, your caregivers are eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine now. So there's been a lot of kind of things that have kind of changed really rapidly the past couple of weeks. So this is good news. And I don't know how exactly it's going to roll out. I think some of the vaccine is going to be distributed to pharmacies and Walgreens, Rite Aid, those types of CVS, and that as of now, even in Dane County, they say that they ask for proof of eligibility. They're not actively and turning away people without it. So my son's caseworker had mentioned to us, and my son, who's actually a paid caregiver through Tyler, to just bring his paycheck stub from the Iris. We use GT Independence as a fiscal agency, and so that's a way that a lot of family and then the athletes will be eligible sometime around March 1st, or anybody that's in those long-term care programs. The other thing is, I think actually the living facilities, they'll probably get vaccines delivered directly to them somehow. So again, we're learning as fast as we can so we can share the information. Sometimes you guys know more than we do. So, feel free to kind of either, type in the chat if you know anything else that's popped up recently. But again, we're going to try an education program. We're not going to mandate the athlete. We're not going to say, we're going to follow SOI guidance where we're not going to say you have to have this to participate, but we're going to go through something like Missy did a lot with the flu vaccine. And so it'll be the same type of thing where there's different documents that we can share, different videos we can share to educate the athletes, encourage them to all get the vaccine.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Yeah, and that's just just trying to share the information as we get it. And again, like Don said, I'm sure I know we have been getting emails from agency managers or families of updates that they're also receiving. And so our goal is to try to pass along any information that we get, just so everybody has the information to make their decision on this. And obviously, as the vaccine progresses, I know that the local protocols and all that stuff may be starting to get loosened up a little bit as that goes on, and we'll continue with along with our protocol that as long as we're following those burden numbers. And so essentially, as the vaccine gets out, those burden numbers should drop, and we'll continue to monitor those as well. So, but this is that group, the eligibility group that they sent out last year: education, childcare, individuals that are enrolled in Medicaid long-term care programs, which Don was just talking about, public-facing essential workers. I'm not sure exactly who that all fits, but I know there's a large group in that, non-frontline healthcare personnel, and then the congregate living programs as well. So this is just, like I said, information from the Department of Health Services. That information is also available on the website. So feel free to continue to visit our favorite website with the numbers, and then also with those vaccine updates. And then also specifically, I would also recommend checking out your local county health ones, because they may be on a little bit of a different timetable, either ahead or behind, based on the availability of the vaccine and what phases they are into. So that's always a good one to continue to look at as well. So that's our vaccine update. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments about that specifically. But like we've mentioned, it won't be a requirement, but we will be providing some education as this progresses.
Jason, I have a question.
Sure.
I've already had coaches and volunteers say to me that they're going to have a hard decision if they're going to do practices if the athletes don't have to have their vaccination.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I do understand that does have people make that a difficult decision in those situations. Just at this point, there's not a model where we're monitoring it. We're going to continue with our protocols to try to keep the risk of spread down as much as we possibly can. But from a vaccine standpoint, we're going to follow up. We have to follow with what SOI is offering as well.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Tyler.
Kroger has a easy pamphlet out on the vaccine. I'm going to see if I can get it printed or emailed over to you or to Brittany or to Don within the next days, or I'll ask our pharmacists if they're not busy.
Okay.
To send it out. It's something easy, and it explains more about like the different kind between the Pfizer one and the other one.
The Moderna, and that's great, and we'll continue to pass along any information that we get from SOI, and as Don mentioned, we'll look at doing our own education as well from that side of things. So that's, and then again, we'll continue to pass along any information as we know more and more groups are in the are up for getting vaccinated. All right. Yeah, and then I just got asked in the chat too. Just a reminder too that going through the Special Olympics Wisconsin return to play policy, that we do have a masking requirement through our phases, and those are updated through our phases. That was implemented prior to the state mask mandate, and so any changes in the state mask mandate do not affect our return to play mandate. So reminder, what that means is that at in-person activities, practices, competitions, whatever you may do within your agency, that there is mask requirements. And the only exception that we give for when you would not need to wear a mask is during cardiovascular activity. So in a situation we had talked about, let's say snowshoe, for example, you come to the Winter Games, you have your mask on, and you would have it on all the way up to the start line. You would do your race if you'd pull that down during that if you'd need to, and then once you finish the race, you would put it right back up. And that was just a way from knowing that you exerting yourself during cardiovascular activity may provide some breathing issues, but otherwise, mask would be required at all in-person activities right now as we're going through phase 1 and phase 2. So I know there's been a lot of news coming out about the state mandates and all that type of stuff, just as a reminder that the Special Olympics Wisconsin mandate is separate from that. But as always, we will follow the local and state mandates if it is stricter than our policy. But if it is not stricter than our policy, then we will be following our policy as we go forward. So thank you for that question for in the chat there. So moving on to the next thing is that we had on my list was our state Winter Games. Like I mentioned, the numbers are in our favor right now for hosting the state Winter Games. We got registrations that came in on Monday for those participating. Our numbers are down as we assume there would be, just with people not practicing right now and some of the travel. So we ended up with a little bit over 30 athletes who are going to be participating in Winter Games this year across cross-country skiing, snowshoe, alpine, and snowboard. It will be again a one-day event that would be on Saturday, February 20th. Competition time will be starting somewhere between, depending on which sport you're in, it will be starting somewhere between 10 and 11 a.m. And we'll be getting that schedule out shortly to agencies who are participating in that. And then again, we will be doing the virtual awards ceremony on the Tuesday afterwards at 6 p.m. So it's February 23rd at 6 p.m. We also got about over 30 athletes that are registered for the in-practice competition, specifically for snowshoe. For those athletes, we will also be doing that virtual awards ceremony along with the in-person athletes for Winter Games. So it will be a combined in-person and in-practice virtual awards ceremony on Tuesday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. So if you have athletes participating in that, make a note of that time. And then also, if you do not have athletes participating in it, but you would like to encourage those who did participate in Winter Games, that award ceremony is open to any of those that would like to join us for that and cheer on our fellow athletes and coaches as they've gone through the Winter Games season. One update that we're going to do for as far as the special events around Winter Games, we are looking to do a combined virtual celebration ceremony for Winter Games, bowling, and the fitness competition all at one time. So it will not be right around Winter Games. So it'll be a little bit later as we complete the bowling season and as we complete the fitness competition. So Winter Games will have in person on the 20th, awards on the 23rd, and then we'll get more information out as we finalize a date for the virtual celebration ceremony and dance, all that type of stuff. So just kind of update on that. A note for next week's meeting, the first part of the meeting is going to be specific to Winter Games logistics. So if we're going to ask that anybody who's coming out to Winter Games to be on for that, we'll be going through a lot of the logistics part of Winter Games. So the first, probably the first 15, 20 minutes or so would be going over some of the safety protocols and all that stuff we're doing specifically for Winter Games. So for those who join us that aren't doing Winter Games, that's kind of going to be the point for next week, is to try to go through some of those things. And I'll mention this now. So that's going to be a plan for the next meeting in 2 weeks. We are not going to be hosting the COVID coaches meetings in March. And the reason behind that is that we have our quarterly regional meetings that are happening in March. So we're going to distribute information through those quarterly meetings, and then that will take another give you guys another night back during March, a couple nights back during March while you do those quarterly meetings. But we highly encourage that everybody go to your regional meetings. If you don't know that date or how to get on those, contact your regional athletic director. And again, if you're in regions 4 or 5, you can feel free to contact me. Or if you don't know who to contact, you can also email the COVID email address, covid@specialolympicswisconsin.org. So. Mark said our coaches meetings every week, or it's every other week that we've been doing. So it's the every other week schedule. And like I said, the exception is going to be in March. We're not going to host the coaches meetings just as we go through the quarterly meetings with your regions. So
I will try to just a quick schedule of in my follow-up emails that I send. I'll just send a reminder on all of that, and I can look up the dates for the regional meetings for March, and I can include that as well.
And then I will, and Brittany and I can work on this. We will also send out meetings reminding people that we would not be having a meeting those Thursdays that we normally would. We should probably skip that, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Sorry, Mark, Mark said I mentioned a meeting next week. I meant in 2 weeks, so it'd be the 17th, I believe, is that meeting. Would be the one that we're going to be going over. Is this 17th? Dates 18th. That we would be going over mainly Winter Games information straight off the bat, just because Winter Games is 2 days later on the 20th. Sorry, Mark, for the confusion on that. I misspoke. Every other week, and so we're talking about the one I was talking about. Winter Games information was February 18th. So. Any questions specific to Winter Games before we hand it off to the fitness component? Yep, Bev.
I just want to give an update. I was kind of worried about 9 Mile. Besides the fact that we were looking at COVID, we practice on Sundays. We had a really good practice on Sunday. The trails were probably the best that they have been. And we went last night under the light because of how cold it's going to be on Sunday, and the trails were really good. And we've got lots of snow today. So good. I'm sure we will be fine with the snowfall.
I'm knocking on wood for that one.
I am too. I've had my athletes praying for snow. The virtual awards, will they be sent out after the ceremony, the physical awards?
Yep. So what we will do is we will announce the places on the virtual awards, and then we will send them out that week. So you would be receiving them probably the following week, but they should be getting the mail that Wednesday, Thursday after we do the virtual award ceremony.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
And I think most of my other questions, I'll probably wait till the next time because they're specific.
Specific to logistics with it?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. And then you can always reach, and as always for any of this, you can always reach out directly to any of us during normal work time, and we'll be able to work out.
Well, one big question I have, since we have only a total of 30 and there'll be a few at Granite Peaks, are we still going to be doing those pod times or anything? Because that's not really enough to even equal.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yep. So instead of doing multiple shifts, we will have everybody will be going to their competition area at the same time. So especially cross country skiing and snowshoe are separated by a distance down there already. We are offsetting the start time so that not everybody's coming at the same time for screening and all that type of stuff. But yes, there'll be only one shift for snowshoe and there'll be only one shift for cross country skiing. So there will not be separate shifts for those. Thank you for checking on that. Yeah, that we were planning on those, anticipating if we were to have more than 25 athletes in either of those sports, that we would have to then shift it out just based on volunteer needs and all that type of stuff.
And there will be a lunch. We deducted that by the paperwork.
Yes. Yep. We are planning on. I will have final details for you in that next meeting, but planning on doing it where everything's pre-wrapped, so there's no buffet type thing. And my plan is to have it boxed up by agencies so that you guys can grab it at the end of competition. So you would have that. Yes. That's the plan.
Okay. I'll save my others.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any other questions involving Winter Games? Look, or any other questions about the change in the schedule for the coaches meeting, coaches of the upcoming ones?
Hey, Jason, I don't think, is Mark on?
I don't believe so.
I guess, one thing maybe to mention is exactly kind of what we're planning with the quarterly meetings. I'm not sure how well advertised that's been. Maybe just a brief.
Sure.
I can do it.
Sorry. I was going to pull up what Mark had put down, what the agenda was for the first quarter meeting, so I at least can try to pull.
So for those of you that have been around for a while, we used to have fall meetings. That was kind of the big thing once a year, where each region kind of got together with agency managers, and that was back in the days when we had a physical agency manager handbook, and we, some regions did lunches, others did potluck dinners, and it was a way to connect with everybody and share information. So the idea is that we are going to try to recreate that in a virtual world, and then do it in a way where, with some of those meetings, sometimes like Sam would come along and talk about medical. Sometimes our finance person would come and talk about finance. So we're going to try to set up kind of a floating schedule of different quarters. It'll be kind of run by the regional staff, but there'll be a flavor of different state staff that come in and visit and have different topics. And so we're kind of, like with anything new, we're kind of feeling our way around how we recreate that. So we'll, I'm sure that there will be some hiccups as we learn how to do this. But I think a great model has been these coaches meetings, where it's been a real fantastic opportunity to really share information with people, and you don't have to get out of your home to do it. And so we thought of the idea of doing that. We did the annual kind of meetings, regional meetings in the past, where everybody kind of came to a school or some site. So anyway, we're going to try it. We'll see how it works out.
Perfect. And I looked at the first agenda. A lot of it's going to be, like I said, part of the reason why we're not doing the coaches meeting on that would be a portion of the agenda would be summer games, sports seasons updates as we go through some of those, talking about transition, and as well as some other pieces depending on the staff that are going to be on those calls. So There's going to be some similar topics across the regions, and then there's going to be some regional specific or staff specific, depending on who can join on those nights. But for the most part, we talked about it this morning, and Mark is going to provide. I'm going to provide Mark with any updates if I can't be in those meetings, as far as what we would normally share in a coach's meeting. And then if I'm on those, I'll be able to jump in and share some of those as well. I got the question.
Comment. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the question about that. Actually, what I'll just say is, if you're not participating in winter games, I would plan on jumping on at 7:20 for that next coaches meeting. If we get done early from the coaches' perspective for winter games, I will juggle or tap dance or something to entertain those to get to that 7:20 mark. But I think 20 minutes is going to be sufficient for us to go through some of the logistics, as the coaches will have the handbooks and schedules and all that type of stuff, and to be able to answer some of those questions. 7:20 would be the time for non-winter games coaches to jump in on that next meeting. So it just makes, I understand that question. I also know that there's going to be some people who specifically log on just for the winter games content. So I just want to be cognizant of that too. So I will make it 7:20. I'll give myself a hard cutoff if I can. Otherwise, you may just hear a couple of the end of those winter games questions if I don't get to that point. But that will be our best our assumption there. So.
And I'll include that in the reminder email that I send that morning. My turn?
All right. I think that's all my list. Yeah, Brittany, it's your turn.
Knock on wood, we might get done early tonight. I don't have a lot to say. I just want to remind folks that the fitness competition is now live. We have started. This week is your week to collect the preseason scores. Everyone just needs one set of scores, even if they're competing in multiple ways. So like an individual versus a team, if you're doing both of those, you just need to submit one score per person, and we'll use the same score for both. Scores are due at midnight this Sunday to your athletic director or Jason if you're in region 4 or 5. And then we'll get those submitted and figured out on our end. But then practices start the following week. You obviously could start practice on your own whenever you'd like. But the SOE-led practices will start next week. They will be Tuesdays at 7 o'clock and Fridays at 10 a.m. We tried to give a little bit of variety to try to catch as many athletes as we can. We will be recording those and posting them as soon as we can afterwards. So if folks can't make those particular times, at least maybe they can follow along with the practice later. That's really all I have for now. All the information is on our website now, and I'll include that specific link in the follow-up email. There's the playbook that lists the specific levels and the different exercises within each level. If you do have questions about any of the either competition logistics or a particular exercise, if you're not sure how to execute it or how to judge it or what counts, what doesn't count, I am more than happy to either email back and forth or set up a call quick. I'm more than happy to help explain that. So just reach out if you have any questions. Any questions now?
Michaela said I could ask questions at the end. That's what she said, told me. So I think it.
Oh, hang on one second. I just want to, before I forget, there's a question in the chat I want to address quick about the registration. So yes, there is a spreadsheet. It is on our website, but I can include it in the follow-up email as well. It kind of doubles as the registration and the score submission. So it doesn't look like a typical games registration paperwork, but it is an Excel spreadsheet. You can submit all the scores on there and your athlete's information. Again, I'll share that in the follow-up email, but it is on our website too if you want to go digging for it tonight. Any other questions?
Just a quick question as far as the fitness competition. So I want to still participate, but how do I register because my agency isn't doing anything?
Yep, so athletes can are more than welcome to participate even if their agency isn't doing anything at this time. You just have to fill out that same registration spreadsheet with your scores and submit that to your athletic director, so Michaela. Again, I'll share that in the follow-up email so you'll have it. And then just for the contact information at the top of the spreadsheet, you would just put your information.
So I just put my information and send it to Michaela?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Who do I address concerns about? Concerns about, care to elaborate?
Why don't we stay on afterwards and with that person?
All right, that sounds good. Any other questions around fitness? And I will say, I know we had the intent to play and the coaches training and all of that, but even if you didn't fill that out, that you wanted to do fitness at that time and now you are interested, it is not too late. You can still submit that registration by midnight on Sunday. So the more the merrier. And that's all I have.
All right. Here we go. Done a little earlier tonight. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Again, Winter Games till 7:20 next meeting, and then we'll go over, probably touch base a little bit more about the upcoming sports after that. And then again, no planned meetings in March for these meetings, but encourage you to go to your regional meetings. So so thank you again for joining us, and everybody have a good night, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Hey, Jason, I have another question. We're